If you are over 50 years old and starting to think or ponder about your life, about your success, about your dreams, then this one is for you. I'm 76 years old, and I want to talk about the two parts of the life that we all live. And yet sometimes we totally confuse them. Let me explain. You see, I have been a businessman for quite a few decades. I have built businesses, I have led teams, I've lost money, I've made a lot of money, and through all that, I grew a beautiful family. Now, what happens is when I reached at the age of 50, going forward, I felt that my motivation was not the same. That there was a change, that there was a distinct shift in my motivation. Things that excited me were not exciting me as much now as before. So you start wondering and you start asking yourself this question as to what is happening to me. Of course, we are getting older, and of course, there is a process of the age. But I'm talking much more than that, and I'm talking about what is our mental situation, what is our actual mental position at that time. You see, when we are 20, 30, 40, we are building a life. We want to make more money. We want our business to do much better. We want to have a better status, and we want to continue to win. We are in the extrinsic situation of our life because everything that we want to do is measurable. It's all the markers, because what you're doing is you are climbing. You want a better job. You want your business to do well. If you're in sales, you want the sales to go higher. So we continue to do that, and we continue to measure that. We measure that in what I call the markers. You're climbing and your markers are showing that to you. But then all of a sudden something happens when you have accumulated all that, when you have done all those beautiful things. You get to a certain age where it starts to excite you less. The very excitement that you were getting, the very dopamine that you were getting, it is not there anymore. You see, because at one point what you were doing is you were basically fulfilling your mechanical needs, which were all external, which is as to how other people look at you as you grow and as you succeed, as to how society looks at you, that how you have done so well. But now, at the age of 50, 55, three things start to happen. You see, one of them is that the scoreboard does not excite you. The second thing is that the time becomes real. And the third thing is that your own identity gets very heavy. Let me explain. You see, the first thing, that when we talk about the scoreboard, again, when you are climbing, and every time you're climbing, you have those markers. And those markers are telling you, you did this, you have done so much at 20, 30, at 40, close to 50. You are measuring. Everything is measured. You keep the score, and you see that your score is doing better than yesterday. And every day you are doing better. But now After the age of 50, 55, that scorecard, that scoreboard that you have does not excite you anymore. You know, the deal you do, that the deal that you did before that gave you so much high, so much of energy, that gave you so much of high itself, now it is fades away. It's like, I did the deal, great. I've done that. I've done it so much that now this does not excite me. The second thing is the time becomes real. When you're 20, when you're 30, when you're 40, you still feel that you have a lifetime ahead of you. But once you cross that 50, once you start getting to that 50, 55 level, now the time becomes real. You start to think that the longer period was behind you. And what you're going into is another part of your life. And it is not going to be as long, if you want to call it, as when you were thinking when you were at the age of 30. You see, at age of 30, it is something that's very exciting, but at the age of 60, it is something that does not excite you because you know where the time is going. And we all know that, and we all understand that. And the third thing is the identity. You see, for the early years of our life, we create an identity for ourselves. We become a provider. You're the one who is doing, you're the one who's moving and shaking, you're the one who's doing everything. And you continue to do it, and you keep on going, and you keep on going towards your goals. But now that whole identity just gets boring. It becomes burdensome. You don't want to be doing this all the time. You don't want to be the one who's always taking care of the things. You're not the one who is always taking the initiative. And there's a natural cause for it. It is the age. It is where we are, where we see that even though we have the capacity, even though we have all the energy, but we know that the things that excited us then do not excite us as much today. Now, a lot of people, what happens is they get that confused. And I was one of them. You know, you get to a point in your life when you start looking at it and you say, wow, I did all that and now I'm slowing down. What's wrong with me? So what do? You go out and you create even a bigger goals for yourself. You create bigger goals. You create more jobs for yourself. You say, you know what? I am going to do that because I'm going to make myself, I don't want to become that old person. But then here's the truth. A person who is 50 cannot perform or operate in as if they're 30. And this is where you got to start realizing that the time becomes significance to you, and the significance of your own self becomes so important. You see, the external rewards start to lose, and internal rewards start to take on. And that is such an important thing, that once we start to look at significance in our life, to see as to what can I be doing right now, instead of same old, same old. Friends, I had people, when we used to buy businesses from, who just continued to the point where they just couldn't continue. And then they died. They sold the business. They built beautiful businesses. They made big money from that. But unfortunately, they were so involved in competing with themselves, with their 40 years old, that they lost the purpose of why they had started to do it. So this is where it is so important. It is just so important that we sit back and look at it as to what is that is of significance to us at the age that we have done it. Now you've done certain things, you're successful, and question is, how are you going to sustain that success? You see, in the second stage of our life, motivation changes from extension to contribution, from proving to meaning, and from accumulation to significance. You know, there has been a research in adult development, and it shows that when we start to begin caring about impact, mentorship, legacy, depth, mastery, refinement, peace, you see, that aligns much better, as Pink has said, with our new goals, because we are now searching for the deeper drivers of motivation, bringing us autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So here's the difference. At 30, purpose is ambition driven, but at 60, purpose is meaningful driven. Now, that's not weakness. That is psychological growth. So, how do we reignite motivation at our new age of 55, 60? See, if you feel flat, here's the practical reset. Not hustle, not hype, clarity. Ask yourself these 3 questions. What problem am I genuinely solving or care about? Who specifically gains from all this experience that I have accumulated? And thirdly, which is even more important, now that you have a situation where earning is not required for survival, what would I build or teach? You see, question. Now it becomes not what I have built myself. My markers now, how can I transfer all that things that I've learned, all the things that I've done? How do I give it to the other people? How can I help humanity? How can I help that one person that I think needs to see this? Because now it is about significance. And significance defines and energizes differently. It is quieter, much quieter, but it lasts longer. So you see, in my own life, I found out that the energy flows meaning, not the other way around. You see, if you are over 50 and motivation feels different, then that's good. Because it means you are grown. The first half of life, we feel it's all about building the structure. The second is about deciding what it stands for. Do not try to resurrect the old structure. Upgrade the mission. Because the second part of the life is not about its speed. It's not about the markers. It's not about where I am going. But it's about significance. And significance is the most powerful fuel you will ever need. You see, all my life, I was always looking for those markers. And I got them. And it's great. And we all do that at a certain age. But then it gets a point where you need to make that decision. And the decision is as to how I am going to sustain that success. And the way you do it is with the significance, is what you are leaving behind. What is your legacy? What are people saying about you? And how are you helping somebody else? Not with your money, but with your experience. How can you help somebody? Once we understand that, life becomes so easy. And it is for a lot of us who get to that age. Because, there is, when we grow and when we are out in the field at 20, 30, 40, it is different. It's you are creating, and those are all externals. Those are the extrinsics. But now, after 55, it starts to feel, what is my significance? What is my contribution to the society? Not what I paid in taxes, but what I can do now for other people. So I hope you understand the message. Life goes on. At 50, at 55, I'm 76 years old and I'm still going on as a strong, but my motivation is different. My thought process is different. I still want to do things, but they are not extrinsic. They are the ones that can help somebody else, because that gives me more happiness. So if you know somebody who can use this, please send it to them. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, to my Spotify. Please come to my school community, Growth Gap Destiny Builders. And I hope you like this. I will speak to you next time. Thank you very much. This is Aslam Khatri saying goodbye.